What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Movie Talks, the only podcast you need for all your movie news, movie reviews, and more. Episode 79. We are recording a little bit earlier than usual
A
because
little bit.
we have just attended a Minecraft wedding. It's the first one that I've ever even heard of. But yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Yep.
it
We went
was
to a Minecraft wedding this morning. It was a
yeah,
very unique experience.
it was fun though. Like it's to,
Mm.
to be honest, it was way better than what I had envisioned in my mind because I don't play Minecraft, so I was like, what am I in for here?
I had no vision in my mind, so I had
Uh,
no preconceived conceptions,
yeah, I was like,
perceptions.
I don't know what I'm in for. But we have a very, very unique episode for you today. We have the newest Adam Sandler one, which is a Spaceman. It is going to be a very trippy ride, and
Mm.
we'll be delving into that because I don't know how I feel. And then we
I'm
have,
exactly the same.
yep, and then we have Spartan, the Ultimate Team Challenge, which is Netflix's newest obstacle course, Ninja Warrior-esque,
Kind of.
gladiatory like
We'll mention more
experience.
about it later, but
And then we've got the film that I mentioned last week, which is the 1981 film called Raw, where they needed to give writing credits to the animals, and that's it's a
yeah,
it's something.
it's an experience for sure.
It sure is kind of
I
like a
haven't stopped talking about it since I watched it.
right, kind of like a
I was at
Minecraft wedding.
yeah, I was at a family event yesterday, and I was telling people about it, and on right. What happened? Oh, I picked up my partner from a friend's house and the whole drive home telling her about it on Friday night and
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't stopped talking about it. It's a
Right.
whole thing.
It's it's something like I wanted to do a whole segment where I give you random as movie news, but like
Mm.
I don't know how to top that. I think I came in too strong
We
and now
started high. Yeah.
and now I'm like I don't have anything that comes anywhere close to it. Like
Yeah,
it's
very much
just
so.
that's just
Where do we go
it's,
from here?
it's just
Yeah, yeah.
uh but anyway, let's jump into movie news. We got
Trong.
Tron airs reveals first look images from the grid. It just looks like the original but with better graphics.
Yeah,
it
but we
looks
also got like,
it's just
wasn't there a
red.
Tron 2014 or something?
Yeah, yeah. It looks slightly better
2010?
graphics than that.
I
So
mean, again, we mentioned this a few weeks ago. I didn't it's just not a movie anyone asked for. Like, who wanted another Tron?
I don't know. People that like Tron. I don't think I've ever spoken to someone who's like, man, I love Tron. It's
I've spoken to
like,
people who talk about the original and like, watched it as a kid or whatever, and like, yeah, I really like we like Tron as kids. Like my tattoo artist, he was a Tron OG Tron fan,
mm,
but I've never heard anyone say the 2010 is any good. And I've never
no,
heard anyone say I need another Tron film in my life.
no, who knows? But do you know what you do need another one of? It is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. A Mutant
I
Mayhem
do.
sequel is confirmed for 2026.
Oh hell yeah, good.
Yeah, yeah, because the first one was
That's
sick.
fucking great. Yeah, I need to rewatch it actually.
Mm. Besides
Very good movie.
even the corny one-liners, I laughed because what was that? Ice Cube was the
Yeah,
mutant
yeah.
fly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that could have went
And it
either
looks
way.
great. Like it's one of those movies I'll reference when I talk about how we're in like this resurgence of a renaissance, an animation renaissance at the moment.
Hmm. Ninja Turtles have
It's
never really
great.
gone away though. Like they've always been a new like version
Yeah,
of it.
they haven't always looked great. I feel like they were just easy cop out films for a little while. Like, here's a famous IP, it's gonna do well regardless, make a movie.
Yeah,
But
I was mainly talking about like its TV shows and stuff. Like Nickelodeon had
definitely.
they did their rendition, Cartoon
Yep.
Network did like the future rendition. Like it's always been around.
I'd be keen for another live action
Okay.
Ninja
Yeah.
Turtles. I reckon that'd be pretty cool.
Not like the Michael Bay ones, which was like explosion.
Michael Bay?
Yeah, Michael Bay did. Megan Fox was in it. She played April O'Neil. Remember?
Oh,
You remember those
I forgot.
ones?
Wait, what? Ninja Turtles or
Yeah,
Transformers?
he did Ninja Turtles, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah, pretty confident that he did.
When?
Pretty sure there was a Ninja Turtle one. Ninja
Ninja
Turtle
Turtles, Michael Bay.
2014.
Oh,
Megan
I forgot
Fox.
all about that
Oh
movie.
no, director was Jonathan Lisberman. I just
Michael Bay
figured.
was producer.
Yeah,
I
I knew
forgot the
it.
movie existed.
Yeah, I knew he was involved. I knew Megan Fox played April. I knew. See?
Oh, no shit. Of course you
Hmm.
do. I genuinely, until now, forgot that existed 100%.
Yeah.
I was thinking the last live action was the fucking 90s ones.
No. No.
Shit.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. Did you like that 2014 version?
I didn't dislike it. I just watched it and was like laughed here and there, explosions, fights. It was okay.
I
It's
need to
okay.
rewatch. I don't even remember it.
Okay. Yeah. It
Oh my
runs.
God, Joe Knoxville was Leonardo. I don't remember
Mhm.
that at all.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Jeremy Howard. Look at the fucking. Why was there two different Leonardos?
Flashbacks.
Flashbacks? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Sure. Sorry, bit of a tangent there, but fuck, I forgot that movie
Yeah.
existed.
There's a new bike riders trailer. Austin Butler rides out in Jeff Nichols' a biker drama. The trailer looks pretty interesting. I did watch it yesterday. Austin Butler, I'm quite surprised with. Like he played Elvis and is also in Dune Part 2. He's apparently got really good reviews as the villain. People are saying he's the standout of Part 2.
Okay.
Hmm.
Bike
So
Riders. It says it came out in 2023.
the bike riders.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the one because it says Austin Butler.
Yeah, I don't think it is because
It's weird.
they're pushing it heavily now.
Okay.
Unless it
Just
came
IMDb
out,
sometimes does that.
maybe it's a
Maybe it
mistake.
was released at like a film festival last year or something.
Maybe
Who knows? Irrelevant.
yeah.
Release date 21st of June. Yeah, it says 2024. Why is it
Mm.
IMDb? Rotten Tomatoes says 2023. Weird. Anyway,
Maybe
not
maybe it
important.
got delayed.
Potentially.
Yeah,
That does happen.
yeah.
Okay.
And
Regardless.
Dakota Fanning is got a new movie coming out. It's called The Watched, and the trailer is now out now. It is a M Night Shyamalan new thriller.
Oh, wow. M. Night, mate.
Could be interesting.
I'll
Could.
watch anything he does now just because he's like, is it gonna be as cringy and bad as some other of his movies? Like, some of his movies are genuinely funny to watch.
Yeah. I like Signs, and then The Village annoyed me, and then after
Village is
that,
dumb. What's the Happening is
uh,
hilarious with
who's in that?
Mark Wahlberg
That's right. Yeah,
and Zoe
but
Deschanel's in it.
they still pump his like movies though. They're like, surely you've
M.
got a track
Nights.
record, yeah, and they're like, nah,
Yeah,
you're dumb, bro. Sorry, but
it's
no,
amazing that he still thinks he's fantastic. Like, you watch interviews with him, and he reckons people are just unfair in their criticisms. It's like, no, you're making bad movies. Lady in the
wow.
Water was not good either.
I
People talk about
find
that a lot.
I find that so interesting. That's the only like market where if you blame the audience, it's like kind of accepted. Where if like you're selling a product and you were like, nah, it's your fault you don't like my product. Or
Yeah,
like that's so bizarre.
yeah. Especially these creatives who, like, you look at Sixth Sense, and it's genuinely well made. You can tell that he knows what he's doing. And then he makes things like Signs and The Village and The
Yeah.
Last Airbender. After Earth, like at that point with After Earth, they stopped even advertising that he was the director. Like there was nothing even in the advertisement for all the publicity and stuff for
Mm,
After Earth. It was all about Jade and Will. None
yeah.
of it mentioned M. Night,
No. And that was a
and
disaster.
that's one
It
of the
was
worst
a
things I've ever
shame.
seen. Makes
But
me
the
laugh.
last bit of movie news is a little bit of throwback because you got some reference during the week because our mate Jimmy messaged you saying that he enjoyed Shang-Chi as well. And
Oh
the
yeah,
Shang-Chi director is going to be making the live action Naruto film, which could
the live
be
action Naruto.
mhm, Hmm.
Yeah, right.
It'd be very, very interesting because Naruto is getting a full reanimation. So they're fully reanimating it currently. Kind of
Which which Naruto is are they doing? Is it like
the first, like
Kid
they're going to,
Naruto or
yeah, kid. And then if it does well, I'm assuming they'll keep going from like go up and then through Shippuden and stuff.
yeah, wow. Okay.
Well,
Um,
they did really well with One Piece, so I'm hoping Naruto will translate
is it
across.
Netflix?
I don't know, just know that the director from Shang-Chi has been helmed to be doing it.
Right.
So he did really well. I'm hoping that's gonna translate well across.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this when I was listening back to the Avatar episode that we recorded last episode. Was that
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Because you all know I'm our biggest fan, and I was thinking to myself like, what animes and animations would actually be well made and not feel silly. And I thought Bleach would look pretty good, but I thought pardon me, Naruto wouldn't. So I'm happy to be proven wrong potentially.
Yeah. Bleach does have a live action. It's not too bad. It was
Okay.
um
I like watching people go like chuk, 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 chuk. It's going to
eh,
look really goofy.
who knows? Who knows? I mean, that's what I thought
We'll see.
about Luffy's like rubber arms and stuff. I thought that would look really goofy, but that was actually
Yeah,
didn't look too bad.
actually it was yeah, but I think the what I've said before, I think One Piece is actually really smart to do because it lends itself to being goofy. It's kind of that's part of its charm is that it's goofy and none of it makes sense anyway. Like they can go right to the realm of ridiculous, whereas Naruto is quite edgy at times and takes itself really seriously.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
We will see.
We will see. But let's
Cool.
jump in to our first one off the ranks, which is the newest Adam Sandler film,
Yeah.
which is Spaceman, which is just come out on Netflix on Friday, I think it
Friday.
came out.
Yep.
Yep.
2 days ago.
Yeah, so this Adam Sandler is doing a serious role. So if you're expecting him to be his goofy comedy, like I guess stereotype, you're not in here for that. He's playing
Yeah.
a more serious role. He's pretty much moved away from that. Like his periods were funny, goofy, kid-friendly stuff, so his kids could watch it.
Yeah. So
Then
true.
now into some more serious roles.
Hmm.
But this is half a
I'm
year,
glad.
hmm, half a year into his solo mission on the edge of the solar system, an astronaut concerned with the state of his life back on Earth is helped by an ancient creature he discovers in the bowels of his ship. So I
Yep.
went in with no information on this film, and
Same.
it was it was an experience.
Yeah. It's not all what I expected.
No.
And like I said, I still don't know how I feel about it. I think I need to sit with it a bit longer, but we'll see. We'll get there.
Yeah. So Adam Sandler is playing an astronaut. He's up on the solar system. You can see that he's by himself, so it's him dealing with the isolation and the loneliness.
Hmm.
He does
Yep.
get his connection through some like video calls, video chats. He's doing some promo like advertising stuff. Of course they are, because why not when you have someone who's always going to be on the news and stuff. He's doing calls to like NASA. Was it NASA or it was someone else? Some other space
Yeah, no,
station.
they were Czechoslovakian.
That's it.
So it was whatever the Czech NASA is, more or less.
Chiznasa. That's what I'm gonna call him. Chiznasa.
Ch Sounds like Chaz Wozzers from The Simpsons. I'd call him Chaz Wozzers.
Yeah, yeah. That's the I don't I don't know. And the first part is all about setting up him dealing with his isolation, and you get some flashbacks of his wife and family back home. And at the peak of his loneliness, he finds this spider. And this spider,
Yep.
I don't like spiders. This spider's terrifying. It looks at
Yeah.
times a friendly spider, but spiders in general, I don't know if you could ever make them friendly because he looks terrifying.
Yeah, I think they actually did really well because initially I was like my skin was crawling looking at it.
Yeah.
And the scene where he has like under his skin, he's got like the spider coming out of his mouth and out of his nose and crawling under his face, and it's all a dream, it turns out, but it's really gross. But by the end, I love the spider.
Yeah. The spider. Oh, I think without the spider, I don't know this film would be as interesting. Because like
Oh yeah.
just watching him for it was like what, an hour and 40 odd minutes of him sort of dealing with his isolation. And if it was
Hmm.
just him dealing with isolation and not having a spider, whether it was imaginary or if it was real,
Yeah.
like it would have been a pretty boring film. Like
Yeah, if it
this,
was like an alien or something that didn't, like
yeah,
if it was something really far-fetched and silly, I'm kind of glad. I still have questions like why did it look like a spider when a spider is a very human, not human, but it's an earth thing. And this thing was like extraterrestrial, why did it look like a spider? But also the question whether it was even real or not. So
yeah. So like sitting with this film, I'm still super conflicted whether I had like a good time, an interesting
yeah,
time, or if I was like just confused. Like
yeah,
it's it's meant to have really apparently there's source material of this.
the book.
Yeah. And I don't
Yeah.
know that I don't know the book. So
Book's
like,
called Spaceman of Bohemia by Yaroslav Kalfa.
yep. So
Yep.
I feel like having source material would definitely help you in this one
Hmm.
because this is meant to be one of those thought-provoking sci-fi or whatever films. But I didn't really get the connection with Sandler and his wife. Like the flashbacks were like, okay, like I didn't really have the connection there. I did find the main standout for me was like the connection with the spider and
I agree.
his interactions were the standouts, where I
Yeah.
feel like I could have done less
Hanush.
with the flashbacks of what's happening on Earth. Like I don't
Yeah,
know,
and it was also like it was also hard to tell at times whether they were flashbacks or they were happening
like real time.
like at the same time. For a while, I thought they were all flashbacks, but then it felt
Yeah.
like the ones that were flashbacks had a certain style. Like they, oh, pardon me, sorry, happens when I go at 5:30. Um, when there's flashbacks, they do this sort of wide lens facial focus thing where the camera face is always in the middle when they move around and whatever. Um, it's yeah, you sort of know what's happening there.
Mhm.
I have read that um, when they did test screenings, there was so many mixed reactions that the movie was actually in post-production for the past 3 years. Like people didn't know how to feel about it in test screenings either.
Oh,
But I've heard the book is a bit more clear. Like I read last night that the book makes it clear that Hanush is real,
oh,
whereas in the movie adaptation, there's sort of bit of interpretation there.
right.
Uh,
Yeah. Because I'm still confused whether it was real or not.
yeah, it's turned into an hour and 40 minutes of like a therapy session. That's really how it felt.
Sure.
And like again, I don't know how I felt because I I mean I was kind of bored at times, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's kind of the point. It's about isolation and sort of the boredom of being alone.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't stop making comparisons to The Martian though.
For me, it was Interstellar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Like
yeah, it's hard not to.
I just I don't know. Like I thought Sandler did well for
He did great.
like
To carry a pretty much a solo movie, I think he did great.
yeah, but like the context of the film, I'm just I don't know, I'm so confused by it. And I think that's a pretty common thing considering it was the test screenings.
Well, the reviews are quite polarizing. Like people either I was looking through Letterboxd last night because I'm like, what are people thinking of this? Because I don't know where I stand. People saying this is fucking amazing. Like Adam Sandler's an amazing performance. That the characters felt like their journeys felt really like, genuine, and you start people saying they're like crying at Hanush's death at the end. Spoilers, I guess. But sort of happen. It's going to happen anyway. You can sort of tell. Um, there's a lot of people are loving it and saying that they felt really connected to the story and whatever. And other people are like, this is boring as shit. It's up its own ass, which it kind of is. Um, people who hate it. I feel like no one's sort of in the middle, or if they're in the middle, it's because they don't know how they feel. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah. Even looking through IMDb as well, it's either loved it or hated it. There's no like,
Yeah.
there's no in the middle,
Hmm.
and I think that's where it's gonna probably stay as well. Like you either loved it,
Yeah.
confused by it, or you hated it.
I think it's a movie that I'll talk to people about it, but like I've changed my letterboxed star rating like 3 or 4 times since last night.
Just
Like
been
initially I was like,
thinking about
it's a
it.
two,
Yeah,
but I've now liked it more and I liked it less. And I think, look, to get actually to actually talking about the movie and things we did like and whatever, like I said, acting's really good. I think a portrayal of isolation is somewhat difficult to do, like especially when these actors are on scene with hundreds of people filming them and stuff. Um, and I think like obviously comes through the acting, but I think it's also like the way it's paced, the way he looks. I think it's shot really nicely. There's a lot of like really clever um use of close-ups to show him, but also some even though he's like in a pretty contained ship, when we get these really like long shots from across the outside the ship, it really shows his isolation. I think space movies sometimes focus too much on the outside of the ship and try to like, oh look, he's out in the middle of nowhere, like he's in the middle of space. We get those every now and then, but they're more like establishing shots when they go back between the real world and well, not the real world, but Earth and him. Um, yeah, they weren't. I think they did it well, that isolation, and as the story continues with Hanush, you really feel their connection and how much he needs to have that other, I was going to say person, but the other entity to communicate and talk to, because that's when he realizes that, he spent his whole life isolating people and isolating himself, being an introvert, I suppose. But now he's sort of realizing, now that he is alone for 6 months, he's like, you know, I am lonely. The,
yeah,
the girl on the camera says, "Are you the loneliest man in the world?" And he's like, "No." And that at that time he didn't think so. But as it continues, by having that connection with Hanush, he's like, "Wow, I really am."
yeah, yeah. I mean, they've done so well to make a very large spider, but you connect with a spider, and
Yeah.
that's not normally an easy thing to do. So
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, like I think it's shot well. Its
Very.
pacing is pretty good overall. Like, there's moments where you're like, let's move on a little bit, but
Hmm.
I feel like you kind of need those. Like if it's all about loneliness and isolation, like if you were
Yeah.
super fast pacing, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's it. And I feel like it'd be a whole
Exactly
different
right.
discussion. So
Exactly
like,
right.
I think the best tagline I've seen is "It's a tangled web," and I was like, that's that's probably the best way to describe this. Like you're just confused. You either loved it and you're into that whole like symbolism, connection, all that sort of stuff, which isn't really my ballpark, but
It's
it's
normally
more,
mine, but I still
yeah,
didn't love this.
yeah,
Where our problems lie is also in the making. Like, why was a story told about Czechoslovakian cosmonauts and no one in the story is Czechoslovakian, like actors wise? Like, why isn't Adam Sandler played by a Czechoslovakian man? Why isn't his partner? Why isn't, like, yes, the voice, Paul Dano, the spider, Hanush, fine. He doesn't need Czechoslovakian, but everybody else does.
yeah. Right. I didn't even think of that. It was not a thought.
Seems odd. Why not make him American? It made no difference to the story whether he was Czechoslovakian or American.
Yeah.
Another one of my gripes is like just with setting. Like I couldn't tell if this was modern day or like a lot of it felt sort of Cold War in the technology, like space race times, you know.
Yep.
Um, I didn't really understand that context. Also, the fact that there's this, what do they call it? But there's the cloud that he's going to, that his, the whole mission is for, that he's journeying towards. We don't get much detail about that either. And also the detail about Hanush. Like I want to know more about him and his home world. And they mention all these like he was attacked by the Grumblumblin or some bullshit, which sounded dumb. I forgot even what it was. Um, there was moments of like his character, especially Hanush, the spider, that I wanted to know more about. And I feel like, they didn't go into that. But also he points out that Adam Sandler's character, Jakob, never asked. Because he's like,
True.
you didn't tell me you were dying. And he's like, you never asked. You never
Mhm.
asked about me. So it's kind of not, it kind of makes sense of the story as well that we know fuck all about Hanush because our main character, who we're, getting perspective of, that doesn't care about that either. He never actually asked questions
Mm.
about his home world and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also, was Adam Sandler's daughter, right? In what?
the girl. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. The girl that asked him the question.
Yeah.
I
I
think so.
was like, all right. Old mate's building up a resume for her.
Yeah, but at least he's not doing what fucking Will Smith did with After Earth and just go make an entire movie and throw his kid in. No, well, he sort of
They
did
did that. The
with
bar
the
mitzvah
not
thing.
invited by Bar Mitzvah. Yeah,
Yeah.
true. But at least that wasn't trying to be an action epic adventure like fucking After Earth was.
No.
Get away with it more with the comedy. Um, yeah, look, I still don't know where I stand on this because I didn't have a bad time. Like it was an enjoyable experience. It was a very relaxing experience. Like there was no tension and no stress in the movie. There's a climax, kind of a climax at the end, but didn't really feel like a climax because it didn't build to it. It just sort of happened. And then even the events that happened in the climax, there was no consequences. He was saved. He was in the middle of space and he was saved by like a Korean space team or some shit,
Hmm.
which I'm like, what the fuck? How does that make sense?
Space.
Also, it took him less than 6 months to get to the other side of Jupiter when like Mars flight is meant to take like years and years, like 6 years and shit.
Yeah. They also tried to show him like trying to like make up for his father's like what's it called sins or whatever because he was something to do with communism or something or other. But they didn't. I feel like they didn't
Yeah,
focus on that. I feel like they could have dropped that.
on the wrong side of history, they've said. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There's moments that they give us like little like tip of the iceberg sort of stuff, and there's so much more information that we didn't get to explore.
So I think the book is probably the better option on this one.
It sounds like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
not that I'm gonna read it, but
No. It's not a story that I want to revisit, but I definitely think this is it's worth a look.
I'd recommend it.
Yeah. So I think it's got to get a three because I think it's worth having
Mm,
having a gander and then making your own mind up on it just to
yeah,
see what you're thinking.
I'm a 3.5 because I think like what they were trying to portray in terms of character emotion, character journey, I think's good.
Hmm.
Um, but again, like one of the letterbox reviews I read was this should have been a Reddit post on Am I the Asshole? Because it's just him realizing that he was an asshole to his wife after having therapy with a space alien, more or less.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
that's a very easy way to summarize this movie. And if you summarize a movie in a sentence, then it's probably, has its problems. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, 3.5. Like I said, last night I was on like a two, then I sat with it and changed it to like a 2.5, and this morning I'm at a three, and now I'm like a 3.5.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to sort of give it a solid number, especially after only watching it like what 12 hours ago.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, let's have a gander. Have a gander. You're not paying.
Yeah, recommend it for sure.
Yeah, it's already in your Netflix subscription, so give it a
Mm,
look. Give it a look.
hmm
And then we're gonna stay on Netflix and get into Spartan, the Ultimate Team Challenge.
You.
All right, Spartan, the Ultimate Team Challenge. So this is. It looks like Netflix have pumped it pretty hard. So like every promotional stuff that I've ever looked at for this, like all their stuff looks really extreme. So this show is a test against a person's will and strength. Teams work together to win each race and to advance through the brackets and a chance at the finals and a prize pool of $250,000, which I feel like when they're splitting it across a number of people is not that much. Like how many people were in a team? That was like,
5, yeah. 50
yeah,
grand each, just still a chunk of change.
it is
Especially when a lot of them do it for the fun of it.
true.
We'll quickly mention this is an NBC show from 2016.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I found
right.
that out after the fact.
Oh,
So
I did not know that. I thought this was
yeah,
Netflix.
because
So
they
what?
have ad breaks, and I was like, why the fuck are there ad breaks for Netflix?
Uh,
And then welcome back to da, da, da. And then yeah, turns out this is an NBC show made for NBC television,
um,
2016.
that makes way more sense because
Yeah, I agree.
when I was watching it, I'm like, this looks so amateur. Like this looks
Yeah,
like you are just
cheap,
running like Tough Mudder or like
literally.
True Grit or Foam
Yeah,
Fest or whatever. And I was like, this
yeah,
sucks. I was
yeah. When
like,
I was talking to someone about what I'm watching this week, I said watching this Spartan Ultimate Team Challenge, it's pretty much True Grit or Tough Mudder, bit more extreme, but yeah,
yeah.
very much so.
Because normally when you're watching like Ninja Warrior or what was Beastmaster was like their other one,
Yeah,
like the production quality is like quite high. Like they've got really nice sets. It's just like you've gone to someone's farm and you're like, yo,
yeah,
let's put this big wall here. Let's throw some
uh-huh,
mud. You can crawl under some barbed wire, and then
yeah.
away you go. Even like there wasn't that much of a crowd either. It was like some friends and
No, and
family that
they,
was like, here you go.
yeah, and the stock sounds they use, like the crowd stock sounds they use, are like big crowd sounds, and you can just fucking tell that it's not that crowd size making those sounds.
No,
It's kind of cringe.
even the people doing the races, like a lot of them, like this might be mean, but they don't look like athletes. They just look like people that they've pulled out from wherever is
Yeah,
like, hey, let's come do this with us. And
yeah.
like it was
One of my
weird.
notes is that like they might be in shape some, but you can tell that a lot of them are not sports people.
No.
Like them throwing those javelins, the spears.
Oh, that was
It's like,
hard to
man,
watch.
how do you know how to throw something? Like literally just how to throw something.
Yeah.
But again, I'm sitting on my couch or at that time in my classroom, throwing shade, like, you know. But I've done these sorts of challenges before. I've done a true grit, I've done a foam fest, and I've done one or two tough mudders. Um, and I watched this and I'm like, I could do that.
Like the only thing that ever really posed a big challenge for him was the wall, the slip wall at the end.
Yeah, that's
And
my favorite one because that was the one where it had to really be like it was actually interesting to see all the different strategies used in that one. Now, some people would have one person at the top, and you know, that some people would try and get like the strongest up or the strongest at the bottom, and that was I liked that event because it we got to see how they actually thought about it, where the rest were just you know go underneath the wall, climb under barbed wire. That was fucking obviously plastic. Stop trying to tell us it's barbed wire. So many times they're like, oh, the jagged barbed wire. If it was barbed wire, because they're all touching it, they would be scratched to shit. They would be
yeah.
fucking destroyed, torn to
Oh,
pieces.
there's a bloke that was doing it in a G string too. Like
Oh
even a
my
bit.
god, that fucking guy. That it kind of annoyed me because like, why are you doing this? It's ridiculous.
No. That's like all these shows, you gotta have a bit of a gimmick. And these
Yes.
This
Made us think about him.
this felt worse though. Like even the post credits or whatever you want to call it, where they're trying to give you information of these people. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh mate, it was hard to watch. It was like, give us whatever footage you got on your phone, and then we'll do a voiceover, and then we'll we'll promote you
Yeah.
that way. I was like, ah,
And it was weird because like every episode was the same format. There was basically two races, the winner of each race and the faster of the other four, there's three in each race. The faster runner up would go into the final. But they would only show one of the races, and the other one they'd sort of just recap, and they'd be like, "While you're away," thinking that pretending that the show was live. While you're away, this happened with the first event, and they'd recap the first race and show us the entire second race. It felt really weird. Like if I was on this show and I was like, someone confirming on the show, and I went through all the different interviews, and at the end they were like, "Oh, here you go, and get on the show." Fuck yeah, tell my friends about it. And I was in one of those races that was recapped. I'd be dirty as,
it'd be spewing.
right?
Uh, yeah, like I struggled with this. There was points where I was
Mm.
like skipping forward because I'm like, all right, let's move on a little bit because
Yeah,
it was
I
like,
skipped past most of the like sob story shit about the family, and I
yeah,
didn't care about any of that. I didn't care about you.
no. Yeah, like the wall was the most interesting part where they were
Agreed.
like the first episode they were like stepping on the bloke's head to get like further up. And they're like, no
Yeah,
pain, no gain. And then there was
yeah.
the NFL linebacker who was like trying to do some massive leap. And I was like, you've hit the deck pretty hard. Like his commitment, because like the bloke was they had three up the top holding this one person, and like
Oh yeah,
he
yeah.
was the last person, so he was like doing a weird run up, but he was running, hitting
On
the
an angle,
wall,
hey.
jumping, and then trying to grab. And I was like,
Hmm.
that's kind of cool. And I
The
was like,
one part that actually, the one part I was actually behind them and like actually interested was episode three. There was a rivalry
mm,
between two guys who supposedly do heaps and heaps of these Spartan challenges. One was world number one at Spartan challenges because supposedly there's a ranking system. One was like world number three or five or some shit. And these two people hated each other and they had this big rivalry. And like that was interesting because, the characters were more than just, oh, my mum is sick or my mum passed away, or there was a character with that was missing a leg. And I was like, that's pretty interesting, but she's also pretty capable. So I stopped caring pretty quick. The only one that was interesting was the rivalry between those two blokes.
yeah. I was like, oh,
Sorry,
okay, yeah. So just it wasn't great.
sorry.
Yeah, so it wasn't great. It felt bizarre. It felt like, hey, let's quickly jump in and try and cash in on Ninja Warrior's success. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
we can do this, and we can do it at a cheaper cost because we're doing it in some bloke's backyard on some
yeah.
farmland.
Literally, its creation was this can be made very low budget, and if it's made by NBC, made for television, they're filling a time slot. You know,
Yeah.
so
So
it's very low risk.
and it's got two seasons.
Yeah, yeah. So I read.
Yeah.
I'm
Crazy.
watching no more of this.
Nope.
It's like every episode's the same. It's the exact same challenges. I'm tempted to watch the last episode because the one thing I will give it is like because you spend time with the teams in each episode, I kind of want to see who wins just because like there's one team of like an older team, everyone's over 40, and there was like one team called the American Dream Team, which was like all a bunch of internationals. Um, it was like enough for me to be somewhat interested. Like I don't care who wins, but now that I've watched four episodes, I'm kind of like, well, I might as well see who wins now at this point, you know.
Uh,
But I'm probably
I,
just gonna skip straight to the last race.
I don't care enough.
That's
I don't care enough. I was
very
disappointed.
fair.
There wasn't even like variety with the races or the courses. Like
Literally.
there was one where you had to swing across, but then they were like, "Oh, we'll change this by putting a log here," or
Yeah,
like it
or the
was,
trapeze swing instead. Yeah.
yeah, like it was so basic on how they changes it up, and I was like, oh,
So many were
okay,
just variations of tug of war.
yeah,
Like there
so
was pull on this to throw the javelin out, pull on this to raise the bar. Like there was just all these challenges. A lot of them were just pulling on something.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, pull on the log to make it tip over and land. Like
Yeah.
also these
So,
guys must have to sign waivers because a lot of this, like the one at the other side of the wall when they're climbing down those wooden slats, fucking dangerous. Like if you fall and you get your arm or leg caught, you're gonna snap it instantly.
well, like True Grit and everything, you to sign waivers.
You do.
So
Yep.
they don't care. They're like, whatever.
Yeah. You signed it. Good
Yeah,
luck.
sucked in. And like people are going head
Oh,
first after they get over the wall, and they're like,
yes,
but why?
exactly.
Why are you
Crawling,
crawling
crawling down
like
like a spider. It's
that? Yeah.
fucking weird. The TomTom sponsorship. I know they were quite transparent and they're like, this is sponsored by TomTom. But every single time they would talk about the character, like the person's heart rate, like, oh, they're wearing a TomTom watch and this watch can monitor your heart rate and the heart rates are 146. Like they would mention TomTom heart rates so often and it was really gross. Like at least they were transparent. It
Yeah.
wasn't like Pepsi in fucking Madam Web,
No.
but it was still disgusting.
Yeah. Well,
I was mostly bored.
yeah, it sucked. But oh well. For me, it was like a one. Like if you're gonna watch anything, watch Ninja Warrior, watch Beastmaster. At least Beastmaster's cheesy and it's got like some production value behind it.
Yeah, this had none of that.
No.
This felt like, a bloke filming his family at Tough Mudder,
Yeah. It
just with
sucked.
all these stock sound effects. And like they've put a sound effect in whenever they throw the javelins. It was like a pew, like it's flying through the air, like when you fire an arrow sort of sound. Like stop adding all these stock sounds, try to make this shit cooler. It's fucking cringe.
Yeah. Most of it could not
And like,
throw at all.
no, I keep getting mad at people because there's a part where they have to go in the water and get underneath this wall. Not very far, and there's people like hyperventilating and panicking, and I get that you're exhausted and that like to hold your breath underwater while you're also trying to catch your breath from the thing beforehand, but don't fucking cry about it. Come on.
You know what you're in
everyone's,
for.
everyone's got their things, I suppose, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, what do you
Yeah,
give
I'm
it
at like
then?
a two. I
Okay.
actually enjoyed it a little more than you, I guess. Like I said, I actually want to watch the last episode now, and it was good to like transparency on my end. I watched this while I was doing my job.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty easy watch while I was also doing something else. I think I might watch more of it just, in the background while I'm, sorting Pokemon cards or fucking playing Pokemon on my Switch or some bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like a two. I enjoyed it a little bit more than a one, but I still wouldn't recommend it to people. Like I'm not
No,
going to go out and tell people to watch this. Jesus Christ.
no. Like, if I'm watching those things, I want to see like the top end. Like I want to see athleticness
Yeah.
at its
And
like
some
peak.
were.
Somewhere.
Some were like ex fucking soccer players, and there was people on here who won like Ninja Warrior and stuff.
Yeah, but
But
then
it was
they
still
just
shit.
threw them with like random as people. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, it's like you can be part of my team, and then
Hmm.
they all sucked. But don't know.
Yeah. I
I don't
couldn't give
care
a
enough
shit
for this
towards the
show.
end.
No. Let's
No, God
move
no.
on to the most
Please.
unique thing I have ever seen.
Oh
I
yes.
I've ever seen. So this is called Raw. It was made in 1981. If you would like to see it, the full movie is on YouTube. Please do not pay to
Hmm.
see this
No,
because
God no. I'm not sure where you would. Quickly point out this wasn't made in 1981. It was finished in 1981,
yeah, yeah.
but it was made over like 11 years.
This is insane. So this is about
Oh
a
yes.
naturalist living with big cats in East Africa. Expects a visit by his family of four from Chicago. A mix-up believes him searching for his family who have been left in the clutches of wild lions.
Yep.
This
And I'll be honest, I had to go look up the synopsis during the movie because I did not
because
know what the fuck was even happening.
because there's no plot and the plot is extremely confusing. So the director and the one of the star actors were a
Yep, director,
married couple.
producer.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Yep, go on. Who are you talking about? Noel.
yeah, no.
Yeah, yeah.
So the director and the one of the main female leads were together, and then they were like they wanted to produce this film. They got like 71 cats or 81, 70
Oh, 150.
cats. Was it? Was that many?
The 70 is people injured.
That's where I'm getting confused. There's so many numbers. So
Yeah,
they were
yeah. I've
like,
written a bunch of stuff down.
okay, they were like, this is a great idea. You know what we should do? We should get all of these. They're not trained animals. They're like wild
No.
animals. They got all these lions,
Yeah.
tigers,
From
cheetahs.
like circuses, pet shops, like people private estates that buy them. None of it was legal, and they just threw them all on a fucking property in California.
Oh, yeah. So the
Also,
mm,
real quick, Tippi Hedren, the wife talking about, she's the girl from The Birds, the Hitchcock film.
oh really?
Yeah,
Swapping birds for cats.
and yeah, well, that's something as well. Was like she got mad at Alfred Hitchcock for like throwing birds at her, and she felt like it was abuse and stuff. And then she did this, and people were like, I mean, come on. And Noel Marshall, he was a producer of The Exorcist.
Really?
Like, yeah, he's made good shit before this, and then this destroyed his career.
Well, yeah. Yeah. So the weirdest part is they were like, oh, the cats were such a big part in of this movie that we should give them writing credits. Like,
Yeah.
where is your direction? Like, what
Yeah.
was the idea? Like, hey, let's get all these
Noel.
cats. Let's let this bloke live in there who's like protecting these cats from poachers, and
Hmm.
then let's get your family to come in and let's see what happens.
Pretty much.
So this bloke's
That's one of the things I've read is like this is the most expensive home movie ever made. That's literally how it feels.
yeah, but like I feel like someone else's home movie would be better than this because this bloke's living out in this like hut land. He's got all these animals to save them from poachers. His mate
Mhm.
comes in there, who I don't know who his mate is, but his mate was
The African
terrified.
guy.
His mate was terrified, like
You can tell.
the
You can
entire
tell he's only
time.
there because he's the only African that said yes.
And he's like, he rocks up and he's like, "Hey mate," and then he's like, "The cats are there," and he's like, "No, not my jacket." And this bloke's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
don't worry, they're all fine." And he's like
Yeah.
walking around them and he's like,
The scene
"Hey."
on the stairs when they're on the stairs talking and he keeps trying to get up and walk away from these lions fighting like 3 steps above them. And Noel's like, no, no, come sit down and keeps just grabbing him by the arm and pulling him back down to continue filming the scene. It's like this guy wants to fucking bail.
How much have you paid this bloke? Because
Yeah.
I would not be hanging around here. And there's
Paolo Motivo. He has
this
no other credits.
this is nuts. So like he rocks up like once or twice, and then he's terrified. There's a part
Yep.
where the big like male lions start fighting, and he's like, "No, we
Yep.
gotta save them." I'm like, "What are you gonna do?
Yeah, right?
How are you gonna stop this?" And like these lions are
Ah, ah, he just runs in screaming at them.
like they're either like fighting or they're like playing, but
Mm,
he's just running in there. I'm like, you've got no chance here, bro. You can tell they've got a very, very brief plot and they've gone, let's
yep.
see what happens with the cats and we'll try and piece
Yep.
everything together later. It's like there's parts where it cuts from this moment of dialogue to these cats like going rah, and
Yeah.
then it's never revisited of what the hell was happening there. It was like, let's just move
No.
on to the next scene.
Yeah,
Like
they
he
prioritize filming cats over filming plot.
Yeah. So even his family, that was one of the most awkward scenes I've ever seen. Like I remember if they were on the plane or the bus or whatever, but the
Oh
mum was
yeah, talking
talking to
about
the
sex.
daughter. I was like,
Yeah.
what is happening?
Yeah. I forget the
Like
line now, but yeah, it was real bizarre.
there was no context to
She's
it.
like, Dad wouldn't have left if you put out something more or less. And we're like, Jesus Christ, like what the fuck? She's 17 as well, the actor at this time, Melanie Griffith, who has done a lot in her career. This was one of her first movies.
But the mum's comeback was like, oh, your mind's always so promiscuous or something. I was like,
Yeah, it was pretty much you should have put out, otherwise Dad wouldn't have left, and then shut up, you're a slut.
yeah.
Like just to summarize.
So what? And then the scene just cut back to them like arriving, and then these I don't know if they were like a group of poachers or whatever, like have rocked up at old mate's house and was like,
Yeah.
we're going
So
to we're going to take your cats.
I actually looked up. Yeah, I had to go look up what the fuck was happening with them. So they supposedly came because they didn't agree with him living with the lions. And they're like, you can't do this. It's not okay. It's not safe. We're going to take your lions and redistribute them amongst the wild. Which, I mean, yes. So then he's like, no, no, that you're wrong. They're not dangerous. And then later in the exact same scene, two of them are like attacked and mauled and drowned. And he's like, no, no, they're fine. Like, what the fuck? No, they're not. They just attacked two of them in
Yeah.
your plot.
You see the clip that was used like over and over about the lion that was covered in blood. So like the
Yeah.
lion ate something, and then there's the whole scene where the family's being chased in the building and they're shooting
Mhm.
it, but it keeps cutting back to this lion covered in blood. It was like
I
it
didn't even
made
notice the repetitive shots.
no, like it made no
Oh
sense because
wow.
this lion wasn't even in the same location. They were like, this just looks
Well,
terrifying.
that lion was actually killed during the production, the main bad guy lion.
Oh, really?
So it turns out that um, one of the reasons that this was delayed, really quick, want to mention, I got some numbers. This was estimated to be 6 months of shooting, and he was given a $3 million budget. The end result was 5 years of shooting with $17 million budget. So anyway, part of the reason why I went from 6 months to 5 years is wildfires and floods kept destroying the set and the enclosures. A dam broke, flooded the enclosures. A bunch of lions got out amongst the community in California. Police had to shoot three of them. One
Oh,
of those three was the main bad guy lion. So maybe that's why they had to use a bunch of fucking repeated shots.
right. Because the whole tagline for the film is no animals were harmed in the making of this
In the
film.
making of the film, and that's why they can get away with it because they weren't harmed in the making of it. They were
Uh,
harmed when they weren't making it.
but
You know,
70 cast members were cast and
right?
crew.
The
Imagine,
director of photography, this was his first. He's a French guy. This was his first English or first American film. He later did Die Hard, by the way, amongst other things.
yeah,
It was filmed quite well. I'll give him credit where it's due. Within the first, I think, couple months of filming, he was scalped and had 200 something stitches to get his scalp back to his head, and he fucking returned to set. No way.
wow. Was it a lion or a tiger or a jaguar or
Unsure.
right?
Unsure.
This it's just the whole thing is nuts. And then there's a whole travel scene where it's like he had to get to his family, but they weren't in the same
That was the
place.
whole plot, was that he had to try and get back to them, supposedly, and things kept happening that stopped him. Like he crashed his car at one point.
He had
Which, by the
yeah,
way, I found out that scene took 2 weeks to film, which
wow.
was like less than a minute of the tigers in the back of the car. That took 2 weeks. Um, 2 weeks. Sorry, that took 2 weeks to choreograph and rehearse, not even to film. What I
Wow.
read. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, because he was trying to get back to his family the whole time, and at one point, his friend, the African guy whose name I forget, was like, "They are eating your family. They're chewing them up," and like just berating this guy about. He's like, shut up, leave me alone." It's, it's so weird.
The whole thing is pretty much being chased by a cat or attacked by a cat, then mauled,
Literally,
and then repeat. Like I remember seeing some behind the scenes stuff, and they would literally get people to run scared and just get the cats to react, and then they would start filming and see what they could use.
literally, yeah. And I read that. So I went and watched YouTube videos and stuff about this. I need to know more. So I found out here's more information. I found out that they would often get on set, and by the time they set the cameras up, the lions would do nothing because they're fucking wild animals and they're not trained to be on camera. So a lot of the times they would just lay around and do fuck all. And a lot of other times they'll be setting up cameras and the lions are doing heaps and they're not ready to even film them.
Yeah,
So they'll just waste days, like complete, sometimes weeks I read, where they wouldn't get any footage at all. That shit just kept happening.
I would have thought they'd just have cameras all the time. Like, wouldn't you
Well,
just
that
keep
was
rolling?
part of why it was so expensive is initially they wanted to just film with one camera, but they had to film it like a doco because they had, in the end it had to be a documentary in the way it was filmed. So they would have to set up like 8 or 9 cameras every day, which back then weren't just, get on a tripod and press play.
Yeah.
There's a whole, set up the reels and get all the lighting and blah, blah, blah. Like, it was hours of setup every day to get nothing. At one point, 20 workers left, just walked out,
I mean,
and so many people wouldn't come back. Yeah, 100% fair.
fair enough. I wouldn't even sign
The,
on. How do you sell this to someone? How do you go,
I
hey,
know.
you
How do you
might
keep
get mauled.
going? Like, I understand how. So, Noel, the guy who made it, by the end, he had to sell 4 houses, a bunch of movie memorabilia. He had to remortgage this house he did live in. Like, he had to basically fund this movie himself. How do you keep going? Like, at what point do you go, fuck, we made a mistake here?
Maybe when the lines got out. You
No,
think?
supposedly not.
No. He was committed.
After after his daughter was mauled, Melanie Griffith, the scene where she's on the ground and there's a lion on her back pulling her hair, really hard to watch because that in that scene, just after they were filming, or while they were filming, they got on camera, they didn't put it in the actual thing. She had her face torn up. She had to have facial reconstructive surgery. And in
Wow.
that exact scene, and she returned. Like she wasn't going to, but she did. They refilmed with a new actress, and then she's like, "No, I'll come back." So they had to refilm with her again. Like, why
Yeah,
would you
right.
come back?
I don't know. Do you want to hear some of the quotes from it? Because it's pretty bad.
Are some of the lines? Yeah, go on.
Oh, oh, that's Johnny line. You never have to worry about John. That's
Yeah, that's
that's
right.
the
About the
whole
end of the beginning.
that's the
Have
whole
to worry
quote.
about John. Yeah.
Good Lord, look what the cat dragged in.
Yes. When they're inside the house and the lions come in with like the carcass of a fucking zebra or some shit.
Yeah,
Look what the cat dragged in.
yeah,
Oh my God, really?
yeah. And then this is Hank. Okay, cat. Hello, lions. Hello, lions. What are you doing? What's that rogue Toga doing here? God, Toga. Why today of all days? Like that's he's just standing there talking about all the different lions and tigers.
You said it earlier where a lot of it is just point a camera at a man and see what he says.
Yeah,
It's just, and he repeats, like he's like just then with that quote, he repeats himself over and over and over again. And he's always yelling. That's why I couldn't tell what was going on because he's just screaming all the time. Because obviously they're trying to like film from a distance and, there's no boom operator standing
yeah.
above with this fucking boom. So he's just yelling all the time.
How's the delusion with this line? So this is when the family like either first rolled up or like just after. So when
Yeah.
they see the lion eating the carcass. So this is Jerry. Holy macro, look at that. And then Madeline's like, I don't believe what I'm seeing. And Jerry goes, those can't be dad's lions because the dad's lions don't eat carcasses. Like, what?
Yeah, I don't understand. The two boys, the sons, were so fucking weird. They actually were his sons as well.
Yeah.
Most
Well,
of the actors were just his family.
well, you kind of have to. I don't know any sane person that's signing on.
No.
And then Massive Vole is the bloke. He's like, he's one of his famous lines that he says numerous times is, "That's my jacket."
Yeah. So many scenes were him in his jacket, lions tearing up his jacket, and he'd be like, oh no, my jacket."
That's my jacket.
Just reaction shots of him reacting to his jacket being torn up. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
Oh, it's so funny.
But somehow, even though this was balls to the wall, ridiculous, and like the story of being made is so interesting, it was mostly boring as shit.
Yeah.
Like I was in shock, but by no means entertained.
Yeah, right. So most of the lines were real, and
Yeah.
usually every attack resulted in injuries.
Yes. He gets his hand bit. You see him earlier. We mentioned the scene before. He runs in. He's like, ah, yelling at them, trying to break up the. I'm not going to stop your brothers from fighting. He gets his hand bitten. Is like shaking it, and he's bleeding. And I read that that's like they bit through his hand in that scene, and he just
Yeah.
keeps going. Like, that man was fucking committed.
It's nuts. He was so delusional.
Yep.
I don't get it. It was, this is the most bizarre thing ever.
It's yeah, so cooked. Like I said, I've spent the past couple of days talking about this with people and telling them how because part of what makes this so interesting is you will never ever see anything like this. Like nothing will be made like this ever again. It is a huge breach of animal rights. It is there are way too many unions and stuff now to allow people to be made like people to make things like this. There's no fucking way anything like this will ever exist. I am
Nope.
so against a lot of it because obviously animal cruelty, animals did die in not, maybe not the making of this loophole, but sticking these animals together was a huge fucking problem. Um, but I'd recommend it. I think it's one of those movies that, like in my letterbox review, I wrote, it's not a good movie, but if you're a movie fan, you kind of have to watch this.
Yeah.
It is
Like
unlike anything else.
so nuts.
Hmm.
So it's god awful, but it's like you got to see it.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's like I don't know what to even number it because it's very bad. Like it. I got to credit where it's due. Music's pretty good. I think whoever did the score or where they maybe they bought the songs, but I thought the music was pretty good, and some of the cinematography is fantastic. There's opening scenes where he's riding around on his bike and he's like against next to a giraffe, and they're like almost like racing. Fucking gorgeous. Like some of the
Yep.
cinematography for this, considering what it was and how scared everyone must have been making it, some of it's fucking beautiful.
Mm.
But story writing is terrible. Acting is I've never seen anything worse. Um, yeah, big problems. I don't even know what to number it. Like I've given it a 3 because it's recommendable.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's like, I've got to give it a good rating because nothing else exists like this. But in terms of like filmmaking, it's a 1.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. But yeah, that is nuts.
Hooked.
It was absolutely nuts. All right. Well, then next week we've got June, part two. I've heard good things about Austin Butler as the villain. Poor
Yep.
Things, the Emma Stone, and then
Yes.
Shogun, which is apparently taken the Disney
Mhm.
Plus people by
People are
storm.
loving it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty pumped for that. So,
Actually, quite a big week. We've been
hmm,
waiting to watch Poor Things for a while. It's a little bit overdue, but we're finally getting to it.
yep, get keen for that.
Yeah.
And all we asked is that you tell your friends, listen on
Tell your
Spotify.
friends.
Tell it what's there. Listening on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating, or if you're on YouTube, hit that like, comment, and subscribe, and so you don't miss a beat. And we'll see you guys next week.
Hell yeah. Love yous.
Boys.